True confidence has nothing to do with believing you're great. It comes from knowing exactly what you are, shadow and light, weakness and strength, devil and angel, and being completely at peace with all of it. Jung discovered that people who achieve this kind of radical self-knowledge develop what others perceive as dangerous confidence. Not arrogance, not bravado, but something far more threatening. The unshakable certainty of someone who's faced their worst and integrated it into their best. After you understand what I'm about to share, you'll never need external validation again. You'll never fear judgment. You'll never doubt your worth. And that will make you dangerous to every system that depends on your insecurity. Jung spent his life studying what creates real confidence versus its cheap substitutes. He found that most confident people are actually compensating for deep insecurity. Their confidence is a performance, a mask, a defense against feeling inferior. But there's another kind of confidence, rare, authentic, unshakable. It comes from only one source, complete consciousness of who and what you are. When you know your shadows, own your projections, and integrate your wholeness, you become psychologically invulnerable. And that invulnerability is what others experience as dangerous confidence. Because someone who knows themselves completely cannot be manipulated, cannot be shamed, cannot be controlled. Let me show you how to develop it. The first source of dangerous confidence. Knowing that everything you think makes you weak is actually strength in disguise. Jung discovered that what we call weakness is usually our greatest strength being expressed in shadow form. The person who seems weak and indecisive, they have the strength of seeing complexity. The one who appears overly emotional, they have the strength of deep feeling. The individual everyone calls too sensitive, they have the strength of profound perception. Your confidence explodes when you realize you don't have weaknesses. You have unrecognized strengths. Jung saw this transformation countless times. A patient would come in hating their weakness, trying to eliminate it, compensate for it, hide it. Then through shadow work, they'd discover their weakness was actually their superpower, being expressed unconsciously. The weak man who couldn't stand up to authority discovered his weakness was actually profound respect for order, which, when conscious, became the ability to create revolutionary new systems. The emotional woman who was dismissed as hysterical discovered her emotions were actually precise intuitions about unconscious dynamics, which, when integrated, made her a gifted therapist. The oversensitive person who felt everything too intensely discovered, their sensitivity was actually psychic perception, which, when developed, became their greatest gift. This creates a confidence that's unshakable because it's based on truth, not pretense. You stop trying to hide your weaknesses and start wielding them as strengths. You stop apologizing for who you are and start amplifying it. But here's what makes this confidence dangerous. When you own your shadows as strengths, you can't be shamed. Someone calls you selfish. Yes, I have healthy selfishness that maintains my boundaries. Someone says, "You're too intense." Yes, my intensity creates transformation. Someone accuses you of being difficult. Yes, I'm difficult for systems that require conformity. You don't defend because there's nothing to defend against. You don't deny because there's nothing to deny. You simply own it all, and that ownership becomes power. Jung experienced this himself. His colleagues called him mystical, unscientific, too interested in the occult. Instead of defending, he owned it. Yes, I explore what science fears to examine. His weakness of being unscientific became his strength of pioneering new territories. This is the first key to dangerous confidence. Stop seeing your traits as good or bad, strong or weak. See them as forces that can be expressed consciously or unconsciously. When you bring consciousness to what you thought was weakness, it transforms into unique strength. The shy person discovers their shyness is depth. The aggressive person discovers their aggression is life force. The chaotic person discovers their chaos is creativity. And once you know this, once you really know that all of you is strength when conscious, you become dangerously confident. Because you know something most people never learn. There's nothing wrong with you. There never was. You just hadn't recognized your strengths yet. This confidence threatens others because it breaks the social contract that says we should all be ashamed of something. When you're not ashamed of anything about yourself, you become dangerous to systems that run on shame. The second source of dangerous confidence, realizing you've already survived everything you're afraid of. Jung discovered that our deepest fears aren't about future events. They're memories of past experiences we haven't fully processed. You're not afraid of abandonment. You're remembering being abandoned. You're not afraid of failure. You're remembering failing. You're not afraid of being seen as worthless. You're remembering feeling worthless. And here's the revolutionary insight. If you're here, reading this, conscious and functioning, you survived it all. Every fear you have is proof of your survival. Every anxiety is evidence of your resilience. Every worry is a monument to your capacity to endure. When you realize this, your confidence becomes dangerous, because you know, at the deepest level, that you're indestructible, not physically, psychologically. You've already been shattered and reformed. You've already died and been reborn. You've already faced annihilation and emerged. Jung went through this himself during his confrontation with the unconscious. He faced psychological experiences that he thought would destroy him, visions that challenged his sanity, emotions that threatened to overwhelm him, insights that shattered his worldview. But he survived, and more than survived, he integrated these experiences. They became the source of his power, his insight, his unshakable confidence that the psyche could endure and transform anything. He wrote, "I have fallen into the abyss and discovered it has a bottom." This is what makes confidence dangerous. When you know you've already survived your worst fears, you stop being controllable through fear. Threats don't work on someone who's already faced annihilation. Shame doesn't work on someone who's already been through humiliation. Abandonment doesn't work on someone who's already been alone. You become psychologically invulnerable, not because nothing can hurt you, but because you know you can survive being hurt. You've already proven it. Jung had a patient, a businessman terrified of financial ruin. It paralyzed him, made him overly conservative, unable to take necessary risks. Through analysis, he discovered he wasn't afraid of future poverty. He was carrying the trauma of childhood poverty he'd already survived. When he realized he'd already lived through his worst fear and emerged successful, everything changed. The fear lost its power. He knew he could survive poverty because he already had. This made him dangerously confident in business, willing to take risks others wouldn't because he knew he could survive the worst outcome. This principle applies to every fear. Afraid of rejection? You've already been rejected and survived. Afraid of failure? You've already failed and recovered. Afraid of being unloved? You've already felt unloved and endured. Your survival isn't theoretical, it's historical. You have a 100% survival rate for everything life has thrown at you. That's not optimism, that's fact. When you integrate this truth, when you really understand that you've already survived your worst fears, you develop a confidence that others find dangerous. Because you can't be controlled through fear, and fear is how most systems maintain control. You walk through the world knowing that whatever happens, you'll handle it, because you always have. The evidence is your existence. The third source of dangerous confidence. Integrating your shadow makes you psychologically complete, and complete people are unstoppable. Jung discovered that most people's confidence is fragile because it's based on identifying with only their good parts while rejecting their bad parts. They're confident as long as their light is showing, but terrified their darkness might be exposed. But when you integrate your shadow, when you own your darkness as completely as your light, you become invulnerable to exposure because there's nothing hidden to expose. You know you're capable of cruelty, so accusations of being cruel don't destabilize you. You know you have selfishness, so being called selfish doesn't shame you. You know you contain destruction, so being seen as destructive doesn't shock you. This creates dangerous confidence because you're no longer defendable. There's no accusation someone can make that you haven't already acknowledged. There's no shadow someone can point out that you haven't already integrated. Jung called this eating your shadow, and he said it was the most important work a person could do. Not eliminating the shadow, that's impossible, but consciously integrating it, making it part of your acknowledged self. When you do this, something miraculous happens. Your shadow becomes your power. Your integrated cruelty becomes the ability to cut through illusion. Your integrated selfishness becomes healthy boundary setting. Your integrated destruction becomes the power to destroy what needs destroying. Jung experienced this directly. He discovered his own capacity for manipulation, deception, cruelty, all the shadows a good person isn't supposed to have. But instead of rejecting them, he integrated them. They became his ability to see through manipulation, recognize deception, and use strategic cruelty when necessary. This made him dangerous in the best way. He couldn't be manipulated because he knew manipulation from the inside. He couldn't be deceived because he knew deception intimately. He could be strategically cruel when kindness would be harmful. One of Jung's students described meeting him. He was the most dangerous man I'd ever met because he knew his own evil. A man who knows his evil can choose not to use it. A man who denies his evil uses it unconsciously constantly. This is the shadow secret of dangerous confidence. When you know your darkness, you're not afraid of it being discovered. When you own your capacity for evil, you can't be blackmailed by it. When you integrate your demons, they become your allies. Most people spend their lives terrified that others will discover their shadows. They exhaust themselves maintaining a persona of pure light. Their confidence is always fragile because they know they're hiding something. But when you integrate your shadow, you have nothing to hide. You can say, yes, I contain all of that. I contain everything human, the divine and the demonic, the creative and the destructive, the light and the dark, and I choose how to express it all consciously. This is terrifying to others, because most people are at war with their shadows, and here you are, allied with yours. Most people are spending energy suppressing their darkness, and you're wielding yours consciously. Most people are weakened by inner conflict, and you're strengthened by inner integration, the fourth source of dangerous confidence. Realizing you've been waiting for permission that was never coming and was never needed. Jung discovered that most people live their entire lives seeking permission, to to be themselves, to express their truth, to follow their path. They wait for parents to approve, society to validate, authority to authorize. They make their confidence contingent on external permission that never fully comes. But individuation, becoming who you truly are, requires taking authority from outside and locating it inside. You stop seeking permission and start granting it to yourself. This creates dangerous confidence because someone who doesn't need permission can't be controlled through approval systems. Jung went through this himself. His break with Freud was essentially about permission. Freud wanted to be the father figure who authorized Jung's ideas. Jung realized he didn't need Freud's permission to explore the psyche his own way. This break was agonizing. Jung lost his mentor, his professional standing, his psychoanalytic community. But he gained something invaluable: psychological sovereignty. He became his own authority. From that point on, Jung never sought permission to explore what called to him. Alchemy? He studied it despite colleagues' mockery. Mysticism? He investigated it despite scientific scorn. The collective unconscious? He mapped it despite professional risk. This is what makes confidence dangerous. When you don't need permission, you become unpredictable, uncontrollable, unstoppable. You don't need permission to change your life completely. Express your authentic truth. Reject others' expectations. Follow your own path. Be who you are. Yet most people wait their entire lives for permission that's never coming. They're waiting for someone to say, yes, you can be yourself now. Yes, your truth is valid. Yes, your path is acceptable. But here's what Jung discovered. The people you're seeking permission from are seeking permission themselves. Your parents sought their parents' permission. Your boss seeks their boss's permission. Everyone's waiting for someone else to authorize their existence. It's an infinite regression of unauthorization. Nobody has the authority to give you permission because nobody gave them permission. It's the blind leading the blind, the unauthorized authorizing the unauthorized. The only way out is to break the chain, to declare, I don't need permission. I am my own authority. I authorize myself. This isn't arrogance. It's individuation. It's taking responsibility for your own existence. It's recognizing that you're the only one who can authorize your life. When you do this, you become dangerous to every system that depends on permission structures. Educational systems that say you need their certification. Professional systems that say you need their approval. Social systems that say you need their validation. You don't rebel against these systems. That would still be giving them power. You simply stop recognizing their authority over your internal reality. You might play their games when useful, but you know it's just a game. Your real authority comes from within. The fifth source of dangerous confidence. You've seen behind the veil and know how the game really works. Once you understand projection, shadow, the unconscious, and how the psyche actually operates, you can never go back to naive consciousness. You see what others can't see. You understand what others don't understand. You know what others don't know. And this knowledge makes you dangerously confident because you're no longer fooled by the collective illusions everyone else believes. You know that. Most people are unconsciously projecting constantly. Everyone is driven by shadows they don't acknowledge. What people say they want and what they actually want are different. Surface conflicts are really about deeper psychological dynamics. The entire social world is organized around managing collective shadow. This is like having X-ray vision in a world of surface appearances. You see the psychological skeletons beneath social skin. You understand the real dynamics beneath performed interactions. Jung experienced this as both gift and burden. He could see people's complexes, their projections, their unconscious patterns. He knew what was really happening in situations while others saw only surface drama. This gave him tremendous confidence because he was never confused by appearances. But it also made him dangerous to systems that depend on unconsciousness. When you can see projection, you can't be manipulated through projection. When you understand shadow dynamics, you can't be controlled through shadow manipulation. When you know how the unconscious works, you can't be possessed by collective unconscious forces. One of Jung's patients described the experience of being truly seen by him. It was terrifying. He saw through every pretense, every defense, every mask. But it was also liberating. For the first time, I was seen as I actually was, not as I pretended to be. This is what makes your confidence dangerous. You see others more clearly than they see themselves. You understand dynamics they're unconscious of. You recognize patterns they can't perceive. This doesn't make you superior, it makes you conscious. And consciousness is dangerous to unconsciousness. Light is dangerous to operations that require darkness. Awareness is dangerous to systems that depend on sleepwalking. When you know how projection works, you see it everywhere. Political movements projecting collective shadows onto enemies. Relationships organized around mutual projections. Workplace dynamics driven by unconscious complexes. Social media as a massive projection screen. You can't unsee it. And because you see it, you can't be caught in it the same way. You might still be affected, but you're not possessed. You might still participate, but you're not identified. This knowledge creates a confidence that others find unsettling. You're too calm in chaos because you understand the psychological dynamics creating it. You're too clear in confusion because you see the patterns beneath it. You're too certain in uncertainty because you know what's actually happening. The sixth source of dangerous confidence. You've stopped performing yourself and started being yourself. Jung discovered that most people are exhausted from performing success, performing happiness, performing confidence itself. They're actors who've forgotten their acting, so stressed by maintaining their performance that they have no energy for actual living. But when you stop performing, when you drop the act and just be what you are, you recover all the energy you were spending on performance. And that energy becomes authentic presence that others experience as dangerous confidence. You're not trying to seem confident, you just are. You're not trying to appear strong, you just are. You're not trying to look successful, you just are. This non-performance is deeply threatening to a world organized around performance. When you stop performing, you reveal that performance is optional. When you're authentic, you expose others' inauthenticity. When you're real, you make others' falseness visible. Jung went through this transformation himself. Early in his career, he performed the role of respectable Swiss doctor. But after his confrontation with the unconscious, he stopped performing and started being. He built stone towers, painted mandalas, talked to invisible figures, all things that didn't fit the performance of psychiatric respectability. His confidence became dangerous because it wasn't based on meeting external standards. It was based on being authentic to his own nature. He didn't need to seem credible because he was doing credible work. He didn't need to appear sane because he knew his own sanity at depths others never explored. When you stop performing confidence and start being confident, everything changes. Your energy isn't depleted by maintaining an image. Your presence has weight because it's real. Your words have power because they're true. Your actions have impact because they're authentic. This is the most dangerous confidence of all, the confidence of someone who stopped trying to convince anyone of anything, including themselves. These 6 truths create something Jung called the confidence of wholeness. Not the brittle confidence of ego, but the unshakable certainty of someone who knows themselves completely. When you know your weaknesses or strengths, realize you've survived everything, integrate your shadow, stop seeking permission, see what others don't, stop performing, you become dangerously confident. Not dangerous to individuals, dangerous to unconsciousness, dangerous to falseness, dangerous to systems that depend on your insecurity. Your confidence becomes dangerous because it's based on truth rather than illusion, wholeness rather than partiality, authenticity rather than performance. Most people will find this confidence unsettling. It triggers their own unconscious material. It threatens their comfortable illusions. It challenges their performances. But some will find it liberating. Your dangerous confidence gives others permission to develop their own. Your wholeness shows others that wholeness is possible. Your authenticity reveals that performance is optional. If you're ready to develop this dangerous confidence through shadow work and individuation, subscribe for more Jungian psychology. But remember, this confidence can't be faked or forced. It can only emerge from genuine inner work. Jung's final word on confidence: the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That's the ultimate dangerous confidence, being so completely yourself that nothing and no one can make you be anything else. And once you have that, you need nothing else.